So this is the last episode of From Me to You. I haven't sat in here to record these in a while. Um, I recorded, episode 1 through 29 pretty much back to back to back every day months ago. But for this final one, I wanted to wait until the album was done, and I could really gather all my thoughts together, right? So for Who Else But Me, and I might just ramble a little bit because I don't really know where to start with talking about this one because I feel like I did all my talking on the album itself. Um, this album, first and foremost, came up from me wanting to do something to celebrate my 30th birthday. I always do milestone birthday projects, and I release them on my birthday. Sometimes I do smaller ideas on my birthday, just as like a little gift to myself, right? But this one felt like it had to be something different. I'm going into a new decade of life. I've been making music since I was a teenager, so I spent all of my teens, all of my 20s. Now I'm going into my 30s doing this, and time is flying, right? And I just wanted something to commemorate this point in my life. Um, you know, my sister had a son. I love my nephew, and it felt like everything was kind of happening in ways that I didn't expect it to. Like I thought I was gonna be the first to have a kid because I'm the oldest. I'm the only boy, so in my mind I was like, okay, that's a me thing, that's a responsibility thing. But I kind of realized it was more of a weight that my extended family put on me, and it never was something that I was just like 100% sure of on for myself. It was more of like, oh well, everybody's been saying I need to do this, as long as I can remember. So I got to make sure that I'm dealing with that. So getting back on topic of the album itself, when I first came up with the idea for the album, the cover art came to me first. It's me holding myself as a baby. The actual baby that I'm holding is my nephew, but I photoshopped the picture of myself as a baby on top of my nephew, like my head, because my mom and dad took that same like what my cover is for the album. My parents took that same picture when I was a baby. So I was essentially my dad in the picture, and my nephew was me, in terms of positioning. And I just thought that was a beautiful representation of what I wanted to do for the album. Not only to pay homage to the picture between my dad and me, but then to give, a more visual idea of an album that's focused on me talking to myself, me dealing with things from, my entire teenage to adult life, even down to my childhood. I just felt like it was very symbolic of the album and the stories that I wanted to tell with this project. And it kind of was healing in a way, because it's like I'm holding, like, obviously I know I was holding my nephew, but to look at the cover, seeing me smiling at my younger self after, the various things went on in life that made me kind of lose touch with, my inner child, and, various levels of mental health issues and stuff. It felt like I was trying to at least heal a lot of that. And I think that's what this album turned into, the more I worked on it. In terms of, the title, the Who Else But Me title, I went through a few titles, right? From Me to You was the first title. There was another title in between From Me to You and Who Else But Me. I know I did the Cameron London album a while ago, and that idea came back to mind where it was like, man, maybe I should have saved the Cameron London self-titled album for this one, but Nah, it was more than that. So when it came time to pick, I did end up deciding on Who Else But Me. And that was mainly because of the mindset that I was kind of going through. Like, you might hear people say, "Why not you?" Or like, what people say is they're like, "Oh, why me?" And in response to that, some people are like, "Well, why not you?" So that was kind of where my head was at when I came up with the title, because it was kind of like, stuff was happening, and I was looking left and right, looking for help on stuff, and there was never really any help present, or the help that I needed, no one could offer me, right? So then it became a thing of, well, if nobody else is gonna help me, I gotta help me, and that slowly, morphed its way into, who else but me? Like, who else is gonna do it but me? If this is what I want to do, if this is the help that I want to get, who else is gonna give me this other than myself? Who else is gonna care about me like this other than myself? And that's where who I ended up deciding and really sticking with Who Else But Me. But when it came time to figure out the direction for the songs, that's where I wanted to be very particular, right? So my original idea for Who Else But Me was a just a regular, 10-track album, and it just be a really good set of 10 songs, and make this like my best album ever, and it'd be a classic or whatever, right? And thinking about all of that stuff. Thinking about, the best way to sell the most copies and to do X, Y, and Z. And I had that mindset for a very long time when I first started working on this album. And I ended up making like nearly 100 songs for this album over the course of the last year. And during all of that, it was like, okay, this song doesn't feel good enough, I'm going to put this over here. This song doesn't feel good enough, I'm going to put this over here. This song is okay, I'll put this over here. This one, I'm not releasing this one. It doesn't feel like it's up to par for me to release yet. And, I feel like that was good, where it was me being mindful of, what I wanted this album to represent. And that ended up taking the form of a few, living albums is what I called them, where it was, as I made songs, if I didn't feel like they were good enough to be saved for the album, I would put them on a project on my Bandcamp, or, maybe release it as a single on streaming services. And I ended up doing Work in Progress, which was more like trap beats, just, like some boom bap, but predominantly trap beats. I did Wishful Thinking, which was more pop and R&B sounding songs that didn't really make the cut, and were, kind of experimental. There were a few songs on some of these projects where I was like, yeah, I want that for the album, but nah, I already put it over here, so it doesn't fit. And I was being very, meticulous with how I was picking these songs out. And then I ended up doing The Road to 30. And originally, all of these songs were supposed to be a part of The Road to 30. And it was going to be all the songs that don't make the album. And I was going to release like one a week. So there was, something still coming out while I was working on this album. And I was, pretty much falling off the face of the earth for a bit. Because normally I release very consistently. But for this one, I was like, I need to take some time. I want to work on this album. I want to give myself a full year to work on this album, because I do this thing where it's like I'll work on an album really fast, and then I'll drop it, and then I'll make a song, and I'm like, man, I wish that song was on the album. So I gave myself time, and I was just slow with it, and very very particular in what songs I put where. Now, fast forward a little bit, I'm having conversations like, man, I need to do visuals. If you know me, I hate doing videos for songs. And, I still don't know what that is. I don't really know why it is. Like, I don't mind being behind the camera. I hate being on the camera for a lot of these videos. So I try to, figure out a way to appease me while also getting done what I need to get done. And that's where I came up with the journal entry videos for The Road to 30. So every song that was on The Road to 30, which was 15 tracks that were songs where I was like, man, I like these songs, but I don't feel like, these are going to make the album or whatever. But they turned into their own album somewhat. And then I ended up really liking the songs, and I'll get to that. But yeah, I started doing journal entry videos, and I kind of, as you go through the videos, you see me kind of refine the style that I was looking for. It's just me with my black notebook and my granddad's pen, and I would, write a journal entry while the song played. And eventually, right, I had to make videos for some of the other songs that were releasing. Me and Diero shot a Matrix style kind of video for what is it? The Kids Are Awake. And that turned out really well. I shot one for Ghost Rider, I believe it was, that I did with Lizzie. And I was trying to get in the swing of it. When you're doing everything by yourself, that stuff gets exhausting, but hey, you got to do what you got to do. So fast forward a little bit more. I am now beginning to start on songs for Who Else But Me, where I'm like, okay, I know this song is going on the album. I know this song is going on the album. And I got 2 songs done, and it was Bleeding Seeds and Fall from the Nest. And I was like, yeah, I know these are going on the album. No question about it. And then I started thinking, what if I do a regular version of the album and a milestone version of the album, where the regular version of the album is, that 10, 15 songs, where it's like, yeah, this is the classic version of the album. Like, these are going to be the best 15 that I did. And people are going to love this, and it's going to, all of that stuff. And then the milestone version would be 30 songs, and it would be a double disc, and it'd be, 15 that were the album songs, and then the 15 that were released as The Road to 30. And I was stuck on that idea for a little bit. But then I had some conversations with my parents, specifically my mom. I had some conversations with my sisters, and I ended up deciding, no, I only turned 30 once. So the album is going to be 30 songs, right? I haven't done a big, double disc album in a while. So why not? It's an occasion. It's a monumentous occasion. So why not do that? And I started looking at the songs from The Road to 30, and I was like, yes, I do like all of these songs. That's why, I packaged them up this way. So I'm going to take those. I'm going to take The Road to 30 down. I'm going to put these 15 on the album. And I'm going to make, the remaining 13, 14 songs for the album. I start getting my songs written, getting them knocked out. And then I'm still hitting that mindset of like, this isn't good enough. I'm going to sit this over here. So I still have a folder of songs that didn't get released anywhere that I'm like, okay, these didn't make the album. They can go somewhere. They just didn't feel right for this album. How do I put it? I ended up getting really stuck at one point where I was just making beat after beat, because I with this album, I wanted everything to be done by me. I want written, produced, mixed, mastered, engineered, everything that could be done for this album. I wanted it done by me. Cover art, songs, engineering, everything. Because I was like, this is my 30th. I want it to be a representation of where I'm at 30 with what I'm capable of, compared to the first album I did at 17, compared to, the album I did at 25. Like, how much have I progressed in my skill set from then to now? So I really wanted everything to be centered around my capability and nobody else's. And it wasn't like a thing of, oh, well, no, they're not good enough to be on the album. It was like, when I look back on this, when I'm, 40, 50, 60 years old, and I look back, I'm going to be like, man, I did that 10 years ago, right? I did that 20 years ago. If I have kids in the future, I want to be able to show them, hey, this is what I did when I turned 30. If they hit a thing where they're like, oh, I don't know what I do. This is what I did. This is look at the growth that I had between, 13 and 30. And I'll be able to look at that for myself and go, I might not have thought that I was improving. I might not have thought that I was, as good as I could be. But to actually hear it and see it, I can't deny that there was growth in there, right? So I came to that conclusion, and I really, locked in and was trying to get songs done. And I had to go against my nature a bit and say to people like, hey, I'm not going to be able to help you during this time. I really just want to focus on my album. I'm not going to be able to do features. I'm not going to be able to do this and that. Because a lot of the time, I don't get paid for a lot of that stuff as it is. It really just turns into me doing favors. So I was like, I don't really have time for that while I'm working on Who Else But Me. So I start getting more beats done, right? I start getting more beats done because I'm not going to say I was having beat block, because I was making 5, 10, 15 beats every couple days. They just didn't feel right. So I start getting some more songs done and things are moving a little better. And, I'm down to the last 1 or 2 songs, right? And then I get stuck. And I think it was the first time that I ever got stuck. Like in my entirety of making music, I've never had writer's block up until that point. And even then, I'm not going to say it was writer's block, because I could write the song. Like the song was ready to be written. I had the song idea in mind. I was jotting lyrics down. It really was more of a beat block than anything, because I felt like, man, none of these songs that I'm making feel good enough to be the last song for this project. Because I kind of did the recording in order where I felt like, okay, yeah, this is the next song. This is the next song. This is the next song. And just to tie it all together, I'm like, I need one more song to make this project feel full. And I got to that point, finished the song, and then I remembered I had a sample in the beat. And I was like, I don't want to have a sample in the beat, because then I got to credit somebody else and give somebody else writer credits and, split all of that up. And I just want it to be me, right? So I end up reproducing that beat. And then I'm like, man, nah, I don't know. This song isn't it. This song isn't it. So I set it to the side again. Made a couple more songs. One of them, I believe, was Blue Sand Hourglass, where I made that song, right? I get through recording that song, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, man, this is not going to be it either. Like, I started mixing it down, and I didn't even finish. I was just like, nah, I know this isn't good enough. This is not a good representation for this album. And I didn't want the album to feel like it had a lot of fluff, right? I wanted everything that I said to be important. I wanted every song that I did to feel like a genuine representation of what I was feeling in that moment, or what I wanted to recapture, to express, and to kind of heal from throughout life. Like every song I wanted to feel like it was important. And some songs felt like I was just getting songs done. So I took them off. And I was in Walmart with my mom. We were, grocery shopping, grabbing some stuff for my nephew. And I was just, I was still just beating myself up. Like, man, I can't figure out this last song. So I had to step outside of myself, put my pride aside. And I called Tamani, and I was like, bro, I need an opinion. I said, I finished the album, but I'm stuck on this last song. And I can't tell if I'm just being overly critical of myself, or this is just not a good song, right? So I sent him the song. He called me back, pretty much fusses me out, just like, bro, what are you talking about? That song is done. The song is nice. The song is vulnerable. It's honest. It's crisp. And I was just like, okay, I'll take your word for it. Because at that point in time, I think I was putting a lot of pressure on myself for this to be, like, air quotes, my best album, which I know there's going to be people that hear it and think it's the worst thing I've ever done. Hey, it is what it is. But for me, I wanted it to be representative of the best that I could do at that point in time. So I finished talking to Tamani, and I get in the car with my mom. We loaded stuff up, and I asked her to listen to it. and I get her opinion on it, because again, nobody had heard anything. Like, this was the first album that I just kept everything under lock and key. Like, I didn't share anything with anybody. Like, aside from the singles that I had put out prior to me knowing that I was gonna make the album 30 songs, and that those weren't just kind of like throwaway singles. These were actually songs that I really liked. Nobody had heard anything. So my mom listened to it, and she thought it was nice, and I was just like, okay, I'm full sending it, right? This is the last song. I'm done. Right now, it's just time to clean stuff up, make sure stuff is, mixed down well, make sure there's nothing, jarring in these final mixes. And, it took me, I made sure to take my time, which is something I normally don't do. Like, I try to wrap stuff up in like a couple days, but I took like 2 or 3 weeks of just, okay, listening to this song, making my notes. And I only give myself 3 revisions. So that's why I wanted to take my time and really make sure as I'm listening to these, I'm getting as many notes as I can get, because once I export it that third time, like there's the rough draft demo, and then I do revision 1, revision 2, and then revision 3. Whatever revision 3 is, that's my final version of the song. Like, version 3 is the final version, because I don't want to, wrap myself up in having, 12, 15, 20 versions of a song just to go back to, version 3 and go, yeah, I shouldn't have changed all of that. So I limit myself so I can, detach from the song. But yeah, I don't think I had ever experienced anything like that. And I think it was because I was putting a lot of pressure on myself for what I wanted this album to be and what I wanted this album to convey. And to really set myself apart from the album and go, okay, the album is done. I need to upload it. I need to move on, right? I text Slim Haley, and because I know I don't see Haley all the time. Like, I don't have to interact with Haley in my personal life day to day. So it's like, I know this is somebody I can send the album to, and it'll be in the back of my mind, right? Once I send it to somebody to hear, then it's like, okay, I'm done. The album has been heard. I can't change anything else. This is the album. And I needed to do that. As much as I hated having to send it to somebody, because I wanted it to just be a surprise across the board, I was like, okay, I got to send it, right? And she texted me back after she listened to it. She took a few days, listened to it, and she shared her opinions, which I'm not going to share, because it's like, I want everyone to hear it for their first time, start to finish, and take away what they take away from it before I start getting into discussions with the album. But yeah, like, I wanted to include my family on this one. My nephew has been in every single video for this album. At the end of every single journal entry video, there's a clip of my nephew, and I've been trying to capture clips as he's been growing throughout this first couple years of his life. I believe the first video clip was in Better With You, and he was April, May, June, July, August, September. He was only 5 months old in that first video clip, I believe. And I've been keeping track now because he just had his first birthday in April, and it's now July as I'm recording this. So I've been pretty much documenting his life over my videos for this album. So there will be 30 clips of him, because there will be 30 songs with 30 journal entry videos. And it just, everything began to feel whole with the album after I sent it off, and I was able to kind of remove myself from it. And I haven't listened to it again in a while, because I want to take some time away from it and, be able to listen to it with fresh ears in September. When it came to including the rest of my family, when I did St. John's, that was an album that I included birthday messages to my dad, right? He turned 50 when I released St. John's. And now I'm turning 30 as I'm releasing Who Else But Me. So I was like, you know what? I want to do the same thing. So I had my family record, birthday messages, what they'd want to say to me at this point of turning 30, right? And it was the hardest thing to do, to be able to mix those in without listening to any of the audio. So I haven't listened to those messages. I played the first word of each message just to hear how loud the vocals were. And then I made my adjustments from there, and I just kind of, hoping a prayer. I'm hoping that they're leveled out right. I'm hoping that, they're loud enough that they're not peaking or anything. But even if they are, hey, it is what it is, as long as I can hear the message. Worst case scenario, after the album comes out, I can adjust it if need be, because this album is only being released on Bandcamp and Kit Better for the physicals. And if I make enough money, I would love to do a physical CD of this one. CDs are just so expensive to do, but I would genuinely love to have this as an actual CD on my shelf to celebrate this birthday, especially with this album. And to, I've discussed this before, to be able to record all of this in my grandparents' house, rest their souls. Everything feels, like real full circle. I do think this is one of the most honest albums, if not the most honest album. I talk about mental health. I talk about my personal relationships. I talk about, love and love lost, my mom, my dad, my sisters, all my relationships, my grandparents, different things, right? And it's a very vulnerable and honest album, start to finish. I tried not to make any songs that didn't feel at home on this album. I've been told before, like, oh, I don't have any hits. And I'm like, okay, but I think with this album, I took that to the extreme, and I said, I don't want any hits on this album. I want every single song to be a poetic representation of my emotions and my thoughts. I wanted it to be an artwork, a body of art, a work of art, a body of work. However I put it, right? This piece of art, I want it to be that. I wanted it to be just that. I wanted it to be a poetic piece of art to represent me and my journey through life up until this point. I didn't want it to be full of songs that sounded like I was trying to go viral, or sounded like I was trying to follow a trend, or sounded like I'm trying to get on the radio or have a #1 streaming hit or be in the Hot 100 or whatever. If any of that happens, it's because these songs were honest and they were genuine and they were just good songs. Not because I was trying to chase something that was inauthentic to me and what I wanted this project to represent. There are people included on this album. I know I said I wanted to do everything myself, but there are people included on this album in various ways, right? There may not be any verses from anybody or any hooks from anybody, but like Pop's Crib, you will hear an audio clip from a conversation that me and Pop Casso had. Dark Side of the Mic, you will hear a clip from Corey X Kinchin that makes sense. That makes sense in context of the song. The original version of the song had a clip from Berleezy, but for the album version, I changed the clip because it felt more contextual to the album. You hear Ava Jade, my friend Hella. She spoke Norwegian for me on the Cameron London album when I did that. And that song never got used, that beat never got used. And I repurposed it and I put it at the end of one of the songs on the album. So when you hear that, that's who that is. But yeah, man, it's been such a journey working on this album for nearly a full year. I started it in August. I'm wrapping it up in July of the following year. The songs anyway, the videos probably won't be done until August. So it really will be a full year that I've worked on this album, making sure everything is, what I want it to be. And I just hope that when it's released, people are able to experience it and take something away from it that does something for their life, right? It is the most difficult thing for me to say, hey, I'm going to put this album on Bandcamp, on my website, on YouTube, and if you want this album, you have to come get it from me, right? That is a tremendously difficult thing for me to do because I know the bulk of my support comes from streaming services right now, right? And to make an album that's only available on my website or, Bandcamp, my website, whichever, they're all linked together. That's difficult because it's like I know I'm alienating a specific part of my fan base. And, with the way the algorithms work for all these social media apps and stuff, I've never had a large social media following. Anytime my songs do well, it's purely from the streaming services, right? When I have, when Zendaya did, like 300,000, that wasn't because I had anything go viral on social media. That was just because people found the song on streaming services and it went up, right? One of my songs, Training Day, right? From the Golden Heart album and the Kieran soundtrack. It's been doing numbers on TikTok recently. I think it's got like 26 million views for that song on TikTok. Not because I've been using it on TikTok, not because I even make a lot of TikToks, just because the song caught traction on its own and it did well. So I've never been one to get a lot of boost from social media or anything. So relying on just me, word of mouth, and what I'm able to get people to click on to come and listen to this album, that's I'm not going to say scary. It's not scary, but it is a little, I'm not sure I have the word for it. It's a weird feeling to know, like, I could just put it on streaming services and it would probably do pretty well. But I want people to actually buy it and own it and be able to listen to it of their own volition, Man, I know this album is going to be such a monumental piece of my catalog when all is said and done, however long I make music for the next 40, 50, 60 years. I know this album is going to be monumental to my catalog. And I want people to hear it and take something from it. Like, I want you to take, like, I know listening to the album can never feel like making the album, right? But I hope that it resonates with people in a way that feels genuine and honest in its connectivity, But yeah, everything else about the album, man, I want y'all to be able to hear it for yourself when it comes out on September 9th. When it comes out today, because by the time you hear this, it will be September 9th. Because this episode is releasing the same day as the album. So that's really all I got. I appreciate anybody who's been along for the journey, who's been along for the ride with all of these audio series episodes, that's been along for, all the work that I've done on this album. Before I sign it off, I'm just gonna say, thank y'all. I appreciate it, and I really hope that y'all enjoy this album, because it means a lot to me. I put a lot into it, and I just hope that it resonates with somebody. I'm gonna say that's it, and I'm gonna end this episode and this series by playing a couple of songs that did not make the album. And I hope y'all enjoy that.
I think Cam made this one. Yeah, I done spoke with the devil, he yearns for another soul. His whole plan is preying on weakness across the globe. With pen in hand, I scribble a scripture to block his goals. Some of y'all chose the route where you handed over control. I'm Sammy holding his neck and leaving his dad behind. Is God telling me move? Is this really a sign? Am I close enough to heaven to touch the hem of divine life? Now or never's costing a lot, that's a combined price. I still hear the devil laugh from time to time. Heard that he been saying a prayer, reciting words divine. Imagine you the man that turned Lucy back to a daddy's boy. You made him slide the gun on the table just cause you found your joy. Finally finding peace, I can tell that it made him sick. Had to compromise, I take the bullets, he get the clicks. Fame is not the life that I want, peace is the preference, and selling soul was never the goal. I'm the evidence.
Go ahead and pull the trigger if you fearless, or you might second guess it if you hear this. It's Russian roulette. It's Russian roulette. Yeah, I done danced with the devil a couple times, but some still flirting. Stepping on the head of a serpent, got my heels hurting. Exercising demons, that spiritual strength. Muscle growth, an early bird getting the worm, that's just a hustler's oath. Coping with the death of the ones I've lost is a missing limb. In other words, there's a phantom pain, I'm just missing them. There's consequence when there's hesitation involved. Russian roulette when the pistol chamber revolves. See the writing on the wall as I look through the crystal ball. I can see the future, pride come up before the fall. If it fell and you ain't hear it, did it really make a noise? If God knows your every move, do you really have a choice? Drawing a blank, hoping God gives him a word, cause the thoughts he's having are feeling really absurd. Sweaty palms exposed and set up nerves. Question is this really what he deserves? Russian roulette. Go ahead and pull the trigger if you fearless, or you might second guess it if you hear this. It's Russian roulette.
Yeah, I done heard the devil knocking at the door. I can't let him in. Only word he spoke is never more, but has it ever been? He dirtying up the plot. This spot belongs to family, their story deserves a plot. Built a cot from the pages of songs that I never dropped. People plotted on my name, there's a reason I never stop. The word of the book, I don't look it but live faithfully, gratefully penning poems. Inadequacy is chasing me, I'm running from success by trying to chase the money, watching every little step, but he never could rock the Gumby. Mirror ain't enough, you need Jesus for your reflection. Why my complexion ain't deserving of protection? I prayed to be in places, leaving traces, that's my energy. Synergy between opposing forces leads to villainy. Luck of the draw, loaded cylinder spins beautifully. It's Russian roulette, God's plan, the devil's eulogy.
Russian roulette. Go ahead and pull the trigger if you fearless, or you might second guess it if you hear this. It's Russian roulette. It's Russian roulette.